Hello everybody and welcome to the Kayfabe News review of Monday Night Raw, WWE's flagship show, and you must excuse my bias and my huge smile that is etched across my face because after weeks of worrying, AJ Styles returned to Monday Night Raw, and thank everything he is not dead, because of course the last time we saw Mr. Styles, well, he was being buried in a pile of dirt by The Undertaker, who we also haven't seen since, which is strange now I think about it. But honestly, I know that his family were worried, I'm sure his children were worried, and I was worried as a fan of the Phenomenal One, but he just walked out here at the end of a gauntlet match. He was the surprise person in the gauntlet match, and my word, what a comeback. What a comeback for AJ. He not only, like I say, just reappeared from the dead and also let us know that he's not a ghost or a zombie. And I was thinking that when he was walking out, I was like, maybe this is zombie AJ Styles and he's going to try and eat my brains. But no, he was able to defeat Humberto Carrillo using his calf crusher and now will compete at Money in the Bank this Sunday. And now, we go out of our way to get you the exclusives here on Kayfabe News. I am being told that we will now cut to our reporter in the field who will explain how AJ Styles was able to get out of the dirt. What's that? What do you mean we don't have it? What do you mean they didn't tell us? Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties here. No one seems to be aware of how AJ Styles was able to get out of the dirt, but I'm sure he will let us know soon. I think what we should be focusing on is, even though the AJ does have a controversial past, has done some controversial things, he's not dead. And really that's the main thing. He's not dead. We don't want to see anybody on any kind of in any kind of pain here on Kayfabe News. And AJ Styles, good luck to you on Sunday when you do try and fight through WWHQ to get to the roof, to get to the ring and claim the Money in the Bank briefcase. We also learned a lot about one Shayna Baszler and one Asuka on this episode of Raw, because they had very graciously accepted an invitation to be on this week's MVP's VIP lounge, when it turned out they had come to some kind of arrangement or had been in cahoots for each other for some time, because as MVP was trying to just ask some questions and get inside the minds of these competitors. Let's face it, when you are about to compete for Money in the Bank, which they are doing too, you want to know, how are you feeling about this incredible venture you're about to go on, and what will you do if you win, and who will you cash in on? But Shayna Baszler and Asuka, like I said, they teamed up and they beat up Nia Jax as MVP just looked on and laughed. So surely there's the questions to be asked there. I mean, what is wrong with MVP? His show just got thrown into disarray here, but he couldn't have given two hoots. And why did Shayna Baszler, this evil warrior who bit into the neck of Becky Lynch and somehow was never taken to jail, why would Asuka decide to team up with Shayna Baszler? We just don't know. And how will this affect things at the pay-per-view that goes down in a few days' time? And Nia Jax looked absolutely astounded by this, but I don't see how she didn't see this coming. Over the last few weeks, she has been dominating, and she told us her own words. She had been dominating the likes of Kairi Sane. What else can you do when you have someone this big and this monstrous and this strong? You need to come up with a plan, and that is what has happened here. So if I was a Lacey Evans or a Carmella or anybody else in this bout, I would be worried. I think we need to watch Shayna Baszler, and I think we need to watch the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka. And on that note, when will she return to Japan to take up her, I don't even know what the right word is, her Empress reign? Because if you are the Empress of Tomorrow, tomorrow one day will be today, and she absolutely needs to do her duty there. But she's certainly going to try and win Money in the Bank first. And I think there's a new team here. I think Shayna Baszler and Asuka have come together because they understand the greater good. And this could be the end for Nia Jax. Maybe she's going to be too much for her. Too much, even though, she's got the Samoan drop and all her other slams. We've already talked about the gauntlet match to a certain extent, because that is when AJ Styles thankfully came back, and he's not dead. Still trying to figure out how he's not dead, but he seemed happy. And who are we to question Mr. Styles? But also Bobby Lashley is having a terminal time at the moment. A proper turbulent time. He just can't seem to get it together, and it is now directly, well, having a negative effect on his marriage with the former Russian, now American Lana. I mean, geez, her American accent these days is incredible. It just goes to show that no matter where you come from on this crazy planet, put in a bit of time and you can put your mind to whatever you achieve. But Bobby Lashley was an absolute, well, they call him the Almighty. He was almighty here. And he was wrecking Titus O'Neil, and he wrecked Tozawa, and then Shelton Benjamin, who we haven't seen in a while. He was there as well, and Bobby Lashley was taking these guys out like they were nothing. And I was like, my word, Bobby Lashley is going to destroy this gauntlet match, and he will be in the Money in the Bank contest. But instead, Bobby Lashley had the audacity to lay his hands on an official, on a referee, and rightfully was disqualified. I mean, it's disgusting. I watch football, I watch American football, I watch baseball. You don't touch the umpires and you don't touch those people who are in charge. Bobby Lashley, I thought better of you. I thought that you respected the rules, and I thought you respected the game. And he was kicked out of there. It meant Humberto Carrillo, who he was fighting at that given time, was allowed to go on to the next round, but Bobby Lashley would have none of it. He would have none of it, and he dastardly attacked Humberto after the fact, and then cameras snuck into the backstage area, and thankfully they were able to remain undetected, and we saw Lana and Bobby Lashley falling out. I mean, they've only been married for a matter of months, and while again I have issues with Bobby Lashley in the way that he carries or conducts himself, I don't wish any hate on anybody, and I'm very, very concerned that Lana and Bobby Lashley's marriage may not be long for this world. And we also, as we do bring up Lana, have to ask the question, where the hell is Rusev? No one seems to be asking this question. We haven't seen him in a while. I think the last time we saw him, he popped out of a wedding cake, and yet here, nothing. We've not heard a peep, and no one's rang the police or put out any kind of missing newsletters. So look, please, right now, we'll start a campaign here on Kayfabe News. If Rusev, I can't pronounce your second part of your name, but Rusev, if you are listening to this or if you are watching this, please know that there are those waiting for your call. There are those that are very worried about you, and I know you went through a bad time because of Bobby Lashley and Lana. What they did to you was unfair. There's no two ways about that, but you still have loved ones in your life, and those loved ones would like to hear from you. So pick up the phone, give them a call, and as soon as we hear anything on Kayfabe News, we will let you know. But sending best wishes to Rusev's family. Seth Rollins had demanded some interview time after this to talk about his main event match with Drew McIntyre for the WWE World Championship this Sunday, and I'm very concerned about the fact that Seth has decided to just wear one glove. I mean, we are in the middle of a global pandemic where we're told not to touch surfaces. I think he wears it on his left hand or his right hand. Either way, it's almost as if he is doing this in order to try and protect himself, but it was a thing that he had already adapted towards before we were living in these crazy times. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on with this one glove. He was also wearing a fluffy coat, and last week we know he was wearing a suit. So very delusional, very strained man is Seth Rollins right now, especially because he believes the reason he should win the World Championship is that it needs a leader. Raw needs a leader, and Drew McIntyre is not that man. But Seth Rollins, you've never led anything. I mean, you were the leader of the Shield in many ways, and you turned your back on them in an act that I will never forgive you for, you abomination of a human being. And then you were in the Authority. In many ways, you were leading them because you were the champion, and that didn't work out. And even when you were a leader of the people, they turned their backs on you for right or wrong. So I find it astonishing that you think you can lead better than Drew McIntyre, and yet that's what he wants to do here. He's worried that the fans will turn on Drew, and I find that a slap round the face as well. I'll never turn on you, Mr. McIntyre. I think your rise to the top has been absolutely fantastic ever since you decimated Brock Lesnar, somebody else who we have not heard from ever since he lost his championship. And to me, Brock was a man that wouldn't go down without a fight. He would come back and try and claim his rematch, but he has not. Either way, Seth promised that he would win on Sunday, but later on Drew did the same. So I guess that's going to be quite the pickle of the contest. and I'm not 100% sure which way it's gonna go, but my heart and my soul are rooting for that guy from Scotland. Cedric Alexander and Ricochet then laid it all on the line, because you will remember a couple of weeks ago, they won against Shane Thorne and Brandon Vink, who are now being managed by MVP. But when they wanted a rematch, Cedric and Ricochet said, yes, we will take you on. And it was a major error, because in what has to be considered a huge upset, given that on Raw we've only seen Vink and Shane a couple of times, the NXT rookies, or whatever you want to call them, actually got the win. And my word, I'll tell you, this Brandon Vink, he is like 6'6", 250 pounds, looked like he could slap you around for fun and call you Charlie. He took his boot and he rammed it right into Ricochet's face. Ricochet was knocked out and his shoulders were pinned to the mat for the 1-2-3. But what does this mean for these two tag teams now? Because Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, they were doing well, but they weren't really established. And this other pairing have come from nowhere, and they do have MVP in their corner, who obviously now seems to be hosting a weekly VIP lounge on Raw. That's certainly something I need to look into as well, because it sounds dodgy as all hell to me. But this blew my mind. It blew my mind. Is a tag team champion shot in the ranks, in the lines for Vink and Thorne? We are gonna find out, especially because after this, we got the Street Profits, who are your tag team champions, taking on the Viking Raiders. It's still amazing to me that a couple of Vikings are now professional wrestlers. I mean, that's a terrifying concept, and it goes to show here, because they also got the win. They got the win. The Street Profits had nothing. They hit them with their biggest and their best moves. Montez Ford did that incredible and just beautiful and lovely splash from the top. And Eric and Ivar, they're too big. I mean, these are people whose ancestors would go to towns and do terrible, terrible things to the citizens there. I'm not sure what chance the Street Profits have. And now, when we have to have a championship match, you can't even argue that fact. The Street Profits beat the champions. Now we have to have that down. And if I was Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, I would be counting down the days. Your titles are in trouble, gentlemen, unless you've got something else you can pull out of your ass. We then had the hardest working woman in the entire world make her way to the ring. I am, of course, talking about the NXT champion, Charlotte Flair, who does take on Io Shirai this week. But because of her hard work and her dedication, she is open to all challenges, which is what she accepted when Liv Morgan decided she would try and get one over the Queen. And this is a big surprise to me. It was a huge shocker. I thought Charlotte would do away with this ham and egger quite quickly, but she did not. Liv Morgan, I should say, held her own. She had ideas, and Charlotte looked stressed and worried. And if it wasn't for that figure eight, the move that Charlotte Flair has relied on time and time again, we may be having a very different conversation. And who else but Charlotte Flair to stop the momentum of Miss Morgan? For the last couple of weeks, she has beaten Ruby Riott to such a pulp that she wasn't even able to attend Raw on this evening. And to make the step up to go against a champion, to go and get someone, a multi-time champion like Charlotte Flair, I thought it was a damn good effort by Liv Morgan, who now is having to go back to the playbook, to the drawing board, to see what else she can do. And I mean, my word, Charlotte Flair. Who hasn't Charlotte Flair beaten? Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Sasha Banks. The book of names she has in terms of defeats is second to none. I have no doubt that she will go on to claim at least 17 world titles and eclipse her father, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And before I let you go, we do have to talk about our main event, which was Seth Rollins' friend Murphy. He used to be called Buddy Murphy, but for some reason got rid of that when he became a disciple of Seth. That's some truly disturbing stuff that we should probably investigate here on Kayfabe News. But he was indeed taking on Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, which means another upset was on the cards. And I'm amazed that Drew McIntyre would even accept this match 7 days or 6 days out from a pay-per-view contest with Seth Rollins. I mean, you never see Tyson Fury doing that. Deontay Wilder would never do that. He should be in a training camp getting ready for his big fight. So I hope that Drew McIntyre isn't getting overconfident and over cocky. And if there's anything to go by, no, he is not, because he was able to hit the Claymore kick out of nowhere and get the 1, 2, 3. But very oddly, Seth Rollins decided to watch all of this from the rampway. And it's not something that you see all the time. Like, what was he thinking? What was he planning to do? Because he never interfered. He waited until the match was over, and it was only then that he kicked Drew McIntyre right in the jaw. And I'm very, very worried about Seth Rollins' mental health, because as soon as he locked eyes on the WWE Championship, it was like he was transfixed. It was like nothing else mattered. He couldn't stop staring at it, and he was lost to us all. He was lost to us all. Seth, remember, you've got friends, you've got a family, much like Rusev, who we were talking about earlier. They are there for you. It's just a championship. Sports are important, but they are not worth your mental health. And you kind of proved that here, because he then tried to inflict more damage on Drew, but Drew had plenty of time to recuperate. He was on his feet and he headbutted Seth Rollins. It was quite devastating. And I think Rollins realized he was in a spot of bother as he tried to run away. Drew McIntyre was desperate for this fight to continue, but thankfully Seth Rollins saw fit not to do that. You got to wait for this Sunday. That's when it all has to go down. I hope the WWE officials were able to keep these two separate backstage, and when they drove off in their own cars, there was no fracas either, no text messages, no phone calls, no nothing. I need everybody to keep an eye. We don't want to lose our main event, right? We don't want to lose our main event. Earlier in the show, Rey Mysterio insinuated that he may fall off the roof when he's competing in Money in the Bank, and that's enough for me to think about. And of course, there's the zombie AJ Styles too, although he's not a zombie. Thank goodness. I mean, we're still trying to piece together how somebody was able to climb out of what I assume was about 6 feet worth of dirt. But look, he got out. He doesn't need to explain himself to you. He doesn't need to explain himself to me. I'm just glad he's not dead. Although we haven't seen Gallows and Anderson for a while. The OC, obviously the original club, or the only club, whatever the hell that stands for. The last time we also laid eyes on them was at WrestleMania 36. And The Undertaker, he threw one off the roof. He threw somebody else into the flames. And again, not a peep. AJ Styles doesn't seem to care about them anymore. He didn't mention them here. I think we need to put out a call for that as well. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, are you okay? Is there a reason you didn't return to Raw with AJ Styles? Are you alive? Are you dead? We hope you're not dead, but there's a lot of people missing in action at the moment, and I'm very, very, very nervous about it. Very, very nervous. But there it is. That's this week's episode of Kayfabe News' Raw review. I miss the fans, obviously, now that WWE has been forced into the Performance Center. But I also look forward to Money in the Bank, because what an opportunity that is for whoever is able to get that briefcase. The chance to cash it in on the champion of your choosing for up to 12 months. I swear that's a life changer. That's a game changer. You look at someone like Baron Corbin, he'll be desperate to try and win that after he failed so miserably last time. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. I will talk to you very soon. Make sure you subscribe. It's good for what else, yeah?